Hello and welcome back to the NWR Virtual Investor Conference. I'm Andrew Gagan from AusBiz. Joining us now is Dubber, ticker code DUB. It is the world's most scalable unified call recording service and voice intelligence cloud, adopted as core network infrastructure by multiple global leading telco carriers in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And Dubber allows service providers to offer call recording for compliance, business intelligence, sentiment analysis, AI, and more on any phone. And Dubber joins us fresh off the back of raising $110 million and delivering a quarterly update where it reported annual recurring revenue of $39 million and more than 420,000 users. And just a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, submit that at the end of the presentation, type it into the Q&A panel on your screen. Joining us now is Chief Executive Steve McGovern and co-founder and CIO James Slaney. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, what we'd like to do is provide an update on the previous quarter, and also there's been quite a significant event last week where we raised $110 million, and obviously we're happy to go through why we've done that and what the vision for the company is and the use of funds, etc. Maybe if we start off with the quarter and put it into context of our overall business plan. We came into this financial year really in year one of a 5-year plan for growth for the company. And the first year vision was to double the size of the business in this year. And we came into 2021 in July with $15 million of ARR, and we had 192,000 users, end users of the service for our traditional recording service. And so we've exited with just under $39 million ARR, and also we've got 420,000 users. So we've sort of had a 25% uplift on our own internal targets. Now, that uplift allows us to accelerate, we believe, aggressively against the rest of our 5-year plan. And that plan is really based on 3 things. The first one is to get more telco networks connected to our platform, and I'll explain what we do and why that's relevant in a minute. The second, and I guess tangible one for investors, is to continue to grow our ARR, and we're growing at the moment somewhere in the region of about $5 million of ARR growth on a quarterly basis. And obviously the third part of it is to make sure that when we are the data capture and recording platform for large telco networks, we're able to deliver feature-rich products that generate more revenues, more accretive revenues as the world moves towards, insights. And those insights could be sentiment analysis, it could be keyword search, it could be understanding, what's going on in your business, or it could be just a compliance play. And probably that's a good place to start in terms of the Dubber story, where we disrupt the traditional business of call recording. So call recording, if I may just describe what we do, call recording is traditionally the domain of hardware vendors who focus on enterprises as their end users. And so they serve up recording services either on-premise or hosted in a data center, but it's geared towards the end user typically. And also it's the domain of contact center inside those enterprise users. Dubber's totally different. So we built a native cloud platform, and the platform is able to scale to capture an entire telco network at scale, telco network being the source of the call. So our vision for call recording is that it should be like any other telco service. You should be able to switch it on immediately and have it served to you as you would have any other telco service. To expand from that, we believe that call recording is just product feature number 1. We're really about turning Verizon's mobile network, for example, into data, into usable data. So there is an enormous amount of data traffic calls going across those networks. And we're in a position whereby we can, if you like, convert all of that into usable data, and then that can be transcribed, and we can overlay a variety of products which businesses at all ends of the spectrum are looking to use now to get more value out of their own sales, out of their productivity, and also for compliance as well. So in short, Dubber's about having a global platform, recording calls at the source of the call rather than in enterprise, recording them straight off the telco network. It's a SaaS model. It's easy to deploy. It just happens instantly if you're a customer on the network that we're on. We have 159 carriers who've agreed to take our service, and we're live on just over 100 networks, including AT&T, including some of Verizon's networks. Here in Australia, we have 4 or 5 of the major carriers here live locally. The significant part of our business in the previous quarter is also, I guess, the rollout of our foundation plan, which really takes that step from call recording organically into what we call AI for every phone. And what we mean by that is that we were fortunate enough to announce a deal with Cisco, whereby for their cloud platforms, WebEx Calling and UCM Cloud, which are telephony platforms aimed at their enterprise customers, we're built in and standard for every single seat. So if Cisco convert one of their existing hardware customers onto their cloud platform today, they automatically get a version of Dubber bundled in as a standard feature. And what that does is it enables us to go to the entire base and upsell at a much faster rate than we would have done if we were going organically from zero penetration with customers who needed compliant call recording. So that's a quick overview of the business and where we're at. We've raised $110 million last week with Barrenjoey and Shores, and we raised the money with 3 or 4 use of funds attached to it. The first one is we're in a position where we can actually execute on some opportunistic mergers and acquisitions. So we've actually got a bit of a track record. We bought a company in December called Speak. It's performed above what we expected, and on every level, whether it be the economics or the staff, it's been a very accretive acquisition for Dubber and has added to our profile. Speak, with a recording platform built natively into O2 mobile network in the UK, one of the major European mobile networks. We believe that there are more of those like-for-like businesses that we will look at on an opportunistic basis, where we buy for the right price at the right multiple, it has the right profile, and then obviously in Dubber it becomes so much more. So it becomes accretive for the people in that business and also for all of us as shareholders as well. We are also looking at some technology plays as well, and I might just hand over to James to give you an idea what the philosophy behind M&A for technology looks like for Dubber.
So we just go back to what Steve was talking about, that we've got a major focus is winning more networks and getting deeper into those networks. If you look at the example of the O2 in the Speak acquisition, which gave us access to the O2 mobile network. As an example, that network has 5 million business mobiles on that network, which effectively now with the acquisition, once we're connected, we can switch them on and begin recording those calls immediately, or transcribing those calls or turning them into data effectively immediately without scaling up the network or our application. So the way we look at any technology acquisition, because we do come across many that are looking to, get access to voice data, because access to the network is the hard part. And there's many applications out there that focus on AI for voice. But what we look at it is that if it can help us drive our penetration into the user base of those telco networks, if you look at that network of O2 where there's 5 million mobiles, outside of potentially our traditional market, which is compliance, dispute resolution, traditional reasons why businesses record calls, and looking to use the power of our network. So at the moment, as an example, we're looking at an application which is focused on productivity and around providing the ability for individuals within a professional situation, whether it's a tradesman right up to a professional or a C-level executive in a large enterprise. The ability where they can get benefit and assistance in the way they communicate by literally just turning the calls into basically a note-taking application, or driving post-call notifications based on this is the next action point of your meeting or your phone call. Do you want to link that to your note-taking or task management system? So we look at the way we're something that can easily integrate with a Dubber platform and then help us drive penetration into the networks that we're working with already.
So with that in mind, I think it's important that we stress that Dubber's not an aggregator of businesses. That's not our model. Our model is to grow organically and demonstrate the propensity for a huge global business through our business model and the platform we built. But if there are like-for-like, let's call them competitors out there that we can take out on an accretive basis, then obviously we would do that to enhance our business. But we are about organic growth. And so one of the interesting stats with the company is we've actually got more telco partners than we have staff. And clearly that doesn't work, because if we want to get marginal utility out of AT&T, for example, or Verizon, we could put half a dozen to a dozen people in there, whether it be solution architects, some BDMs, account directors, support, etc. And all of those people would have a revenue, an ROI profile attached to them. And at the moment, we haven't had the resources to do that. So I think the second use of funds is really to grow the business from being ostensibly a founder-driven business 4 or 5 years ago, through to a global business with a brand attached to it. And the Dubber brand now is resonating, and carriers are looking to move away from any concept of white labeling their own brand on our product, which was traditionally our route to market. And they're viewing us now as being, if you like, a brand in the same way that they would resell Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx. They're actually looking to use the Dubber brand to enhance their RFPs, particularly in the financial services sector. That sector is a real tailwind for the company at the moment. And what it's done is that COVID and the working from home environment has really brought forward unified communications as a whole. So we're in an industry at the moment where the end users want more insights in their business, and that's what we do. The carriers themselves want points of differentiation, and Cisco are the first ones to demonstrate that by putting Dubber into every seat as a standard feature. But also the whole industry is going towards unified communications. So in the quarter, we've announced now that we are on Cisco WebEx calling, we're on Microsoft Teams, and we're also available on Zoom phone as well, or Zoom. So all the unified communications platforms now can be served by Dubber, and this goes into what we call unified call recording. And what that means is, if you're on the O2 network and you also have people working from home, you need compliance if you're a bank in England. And so those banks are out looking for those compliance tools, and the communications tools that they're using are, for example, Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx calling. And the biggest resellers of these services are actually our partners, the carriers. So O2 would be looking to resell Microsoft Teams or Cisco to their existing mobile customer with Dubber on board to maintain a single pane of glass compliance for that customer, whether it be using a mobile phone or using Microsoft Teams. So that ability to capture calls across multiple networks and serve them up into one location, a voice intelligence cloud, has been a real, there's a tailwind behind it. The tailwind, I think, is going to blow for quite a while, and Dubber's in a great position to be able to take advantage of it. So that gives you a brief update on what's happened to the company in the last quarter, including the capital raise.
Gentlemen, thanks very much for that presentation. Let's get to a couple of questions that we have. This one first from Adam. How do you see Gong affecting Dubber's growth?
We like Gong, and I think we look at Gong as a potential partner in regards to an integration partner. As Steve was talking about, we focus on connectivity into the telco networks, and also obviously Microsoft Teams and Zoom and WebEx. But we see that as complementary to the existing networks we've got in regards to telco-owned networks. Where we see Gong is an application that focuses on outcomes for sales teams and driving through AI and the benefit of improving the sales process. They still need access to data, and we still see that that's a complement to what we do and the access we've got into networks.
So if Gong want to deploy their services widespread across a large enterprise, and they want to use voice data to drive those outcomes, then they need to get it from the network, and that's what we do.
Okay, thanks for that. Next one, the company didn't offer a share purchase plan during the recent capital raising. Can you explain why this is the case, given it offered one in the previous raising?
It was actually something we were really keen to do, and when we were advised that under ASX listing rules we were unable to do the same thing as we did last time within 12 months. So an extraordinary SPP outside your placement capacity can only happen once in 12 months. So we found ourselves in a position we couldn't actually do that.
Okay. Now you talk about the growth. You're saying you want it to be organic rather than acquisitional. However, you're speaking of those opportunities you may see as far as acquisitions are concerned. What actually determines an acquisition as far as you're concerned? What are you looking for to add to the business?
Yeah, I think there's two things really, and we have a specific strategy around this. So I think the two things are like-for-like recording with accretive revenue and usually a profitable business that's run well, that we can integrate. That has some carrier connectivity, I think, and typically they're legacy recording platforms built into one or a number of small carriers. We can expand that as we have done within the Speak business for O2. And if they have a secondary product as well, then even better. And with Speak, they have a PCI compliance product, which we've had to make compatible with Dubber's strategy, but we expect to be able to roll their product out to 150 service providers that we already have. And certainly one or two of the acquisitions we're looking at in the recording space have these additional products. Probably things that Dubber wouldn't have on its technology roadmap, but present near and present revenue streams for our existing base. So basically good revenues, well run, profitable, at the right price with accretive revenue products is probably an ideal recording acquisition. On the technology space, really, it's about a technology that we're able to deploy in the way that we build our platform. In other words, at scale to every user rather than aimed at the enterprise. So it's a technology play which can drive extra revenue to our existing base, or it's taking out a competitor or former competitor in legacy recording. They're the two low-hanging fruit for us.
And just in regards to that technology, it's something that it would fast track the development of what we would most likely plan to build ourselves if we had time. It would just fast track that and get something to market quicker.
Okay, thanks guys. Is Dubber accessible to potential customers if you're not integrated into a particular network or service provider? And do you see risks regarding access and integration to carriers?
There's two questions there. So do we see, I think we're really well positioned in our business plan. I think, even if you take just the large carriers alone, we can actually run a business just with one or two of those over time with some depth into the relationship. If we were connected into Verizon's mobile network, there's a lot of customers on that network, and Verizon have an appetite for serving AI from that network. And so we're in a really good position to deliver that. So in terms of once we're in a network, I don't think we see any competition coming in, because for the carrier, it's a utility, and they wouldn't really want to put more than one recording service in, particularly when customers connect them up to their other applications like Salesforce or some of their trading platforms or their business intelligence tools. So I think once we're in a network, we're in a good spot. And I think right now the tailwind behind Dubber getting new networks is we're regarded in the industry of the telco service providers as the de facto recording service now. So I think we're very confident about our strategy. Coming back to the original point about, well, if I'm not on the network, can I get Dubber? The answer's yes, to a degree, and it's part of our product rollout. I mean, we bought a company here in Australia that used to be owned by Telstra a year ago. There is the propensity for us to develop that more broadly to serve customers not on the network. But I think our prima facie goal here is to be on all the mobile networks in Australia, because that will actually solve the problem in the first place.
Yeah, so I think I just add to that, because I think obviously our focus is to expand our footprint into more networks, and by doing that, this question is probably comes an easier answer. But I think you need to look at the other way around, where once we're on a network, as Steve says, we've got a monopoly on that network, and there's no one else who can record that network in the majority of situations. So, and today we are launching, or we've announced multiple integrations with the likes of Zoom, Teams, and there's a whole range of other applications that we're connected to, which can enable recording without being connected to a carrier. So I think there's focus on the networks we're connected to, because the addressable market on those networks are monopolised by Dubber.
And I think on an opportunity cost basis for a business our size as well. So what we've actually got with the Cisco deal, apart from Dubber into every seat, is the biggest resellers of Cisco WebEx calling are the carriers. So there are 60 carriers, tier 1 carriers, that now have Dubber as a standard feature on one of their networks, which is Cisco WebEx calling. So I think the prima facie goal of the company is to deploy people who can expand those 60 carriers from their Cisco WebEx calling network into their other networks and have Dubber across multiple networks, what we call UCR. So I think that's probably the goal of the company at the moment.
Okay. This question from Stephen: should you be focusing more on annual recurring revenue growth rather than subscriber growth under the new foundation model strategy?
Absolutely. I think that we've highlighted this in our quarterly updates, the last two quarterly updates. The metric I think for DUBA for the next couple of years is all about that ARR growth. We are very heavily focused on it. In some ways, if we stick to our traditional subscriber numbers on an ARPU, that our investors are used to, that would restrict our ability to use the platform to get multiple revenue streams. And the foundation model with Cisco, for example, and we expect to roll this out with some other carriers shortly. They're accretive revenues. So Cisco pay us a fee to offer the service free to their end users. And it doesn't conflict with any of our normal revenue streams. It just actually accelerates them. So we've got an additional revenue stream coming in from the carrier, in this case Cisco, and it's a substantial revenue stream because of the nature of the deal, and it just actually fast tracks or accelerates our normal revenue. So I think 100% right. We're a growth company, and ARR is absolutely the focus for us at the moment.
Steve and James, thanks for the presentation and thanks for joining us from DUBA.
We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So.